Welcome to Working Lunch, the Slow Chambers weekly series where we take some time to talk with our community leaders and connect you with some of the exciting people and things happening in our region. I'm Jim D'Antona, President and CEO of the Slow Chamber, and today we'll be having a conversation with Morris and Garritano's brother-sister leadership team, Chief Executive Officer Brendan Morris and Chief Operating Officer Kerry Morris. Morris and Garritano is a leader in the insurance industry, headquartered right here on the Central Coast for more than 100 years. They were a founding member of the Slow Chamber in 1905 and traced their company roots back several decades before that. Brendan joined the firm 26 years ago and now oversees the corporate strategy and has established Morris and Garritano nationally as a key contributor to industry networks. He's been honored in the Pacific Coast Business Times 40 Under 40, the Tribune's Top 20 Under 40, and serves on the Agency Advisory Council for Liberty Mutual, and continuing their historic support of the Slow Chamber, currently serves on our board of directors. After joining the Morris and Garritano team 19 years ago, Kerry leads the internal operations of Morris and Garritano, creating a business that prioritizes the needs of its clients and the well-being of its employees. Kerry strategizes with leaders in the agency to develop initiatives to ensure Morris and Garritano is continually advancing in key areas such as technology, service, and innovation. Over the last year, she has overseen the transition to a nearly fully remote workforce and continues to lead the agency in the proactive approach to create a flexible and sustainable working environment that satisfies the needs of their employees while enhancing the client experience. Outside of the office, she has served on the board of French Hospital for several years, as well as the Slow Chamber board, and has been recognized by the Pacific Coast Business Times as one of the top 50 women in business. Today, I'm excited to talk with this dynamic duo and learn more about how Morris and Garritano have lasted the test of time and continue to grow their company while maintaining their core values, and from all appearances, still have a family good relationship. Kerry, thank you so much for being here.
Hello.
Hey there, and Brendan, thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon.
Well, as we sit down to lunch with everyone, where are you zooming in from today, Kerry?
So I'm in the office, which is a treat. Since I spend most of my time working from home.
Fabulous. And Brendan, where are you coming in from?
In our Slow office as well. And I know, as some of you have seen me in my office, it's a little different in my garage from a year ago.
Yeah, well, I certainly appreciate not having to see all the Dodger memorabilia behind you. My wife, though, truly loves it. I mentioned in the opening, Morris and Garritano was one of the founding members of the Chamber of Commerce back in 1905, but your company goes back even further. Brendan, can you give us a quick rundown of how far back it goes and where along the way the Morris family joined that leadership?
Absolutely. We're definitely proud of our deep history here on the Central Coast. And it's kind of a cool story because our founder, Archibald McAllister, he opened up business in a little storefront in downtown Higuera Street in 1885, so a long time ago. And as the story goes, he had his son-in-law join the firm as well. And then over a few decades, two other individuals joined the firm. But really, it was our grandfather who was working for the Hartford in San Francisco as a field rep, that this was his territory all the way down to San Luis Obispo. And so they lured him away in 1948. And I guess, as you could say, the rest is history. But a similar path as well for our dad. He as well worked for the Hartford in San Francisco, and he joined in 1964. So as you mentioned, Kerry and I have been here for quite some time, and we're just now building for that next generation.
Well, so yeah, it sounds like a similar track, and the virus gets injected early. So clearly this company has a very, very deep roots with the Morris family. Did you have any siblings, Kerry, that didn't end up in the insurance island?
We do. So our sister Kelly is a teacher here in San Luis at Mission, MCP. And our younger brother is actually a musician and artist living in Norway. So they escaped.
Yeah, I don't. And was that I don't know if that's good, bad, or indifferent, having a ton of family in the insurance industry. So
I'll plead the fifth.
That's hilarious. Well, okay, that's super interesting to find out. Well, and Brendan, transitioning a business from parent to child seems to be something important in our community. You look at the Madonnas, the Rizzolis, Idlers, but definitely that seems like it could be a difficult transition. Yeah, what did you learn from kind of your generational transition?
Yeah, in fact, I completely agree. It's interesting how that is a general sense in our community. And on that note, we have clients, which is really special, that span over those multiple generations. I'll just say that where I might be working with a granddaughter or grandson, and then our father or grandfather, or even before that, we have some clients that go 100 years ago. So it's definitely very special. But at the same time, like you said, it can be, definitely difficult at times. I think, Kerry and I would agree, and anyone that knew our father, that he was the most kind, compassionate, and generous person that anyone's ever met. And so that really was helpful in our transition, obviously. But I think that you really need to have a desire and a passion for what you're doing, obviously. And then with Kerry and I, patience, understanding, and those are all things that were passed along to us from him. And I'm certainly thankful to have my sister as a partner in crime, right? And we complement each other so well that we continue to share that vision that our generations before had.
Well, and Carrie, was that something that Dad ensured, or was that just a part of the family bond in terms of working? I know when I look at my family, this would be very difficult, but did Dad make sure that you and Brendan worked close together or could work that way? Or was that just something that as a family bond, you guys have always shared?
I think, as Brendan mentioned, it was just his character. And so he emulated, I think, the behavior that he wanted to see. It's not always easy, but Brendan and I, bring different talents, different perspectives. And I think that when we keep that in mind, and work on a relationship, things work out. So no, I think it was just really emulating our dad. He was kind, and he was a gentleman, and he helped us develop our do the right thing, values.
That's so awesome to hear. Well, I'm sure, like almost every industry and business, things evolve and change over the past 100 years or so. Brendan, can you talk a little bit about the evolution, just since you've been a part of the company, and maybe how you approach growth and change of Morris and Garritano?
Yeah, absolutely. I think even our company, but as well as the industry, has evolved so much, and I think it seems like it's evolving even more rapidly than when I first started. Right now, our industry has always been relationship based, forever and a day, and no different from our business here. And while I feel that'll continue, obviously, to be a large part of it, what has evolved is the need to be sophisticated, and the evolving through technology. There's an expectation that we need to be able to provide additional resources such as HR consulting, compliance, risk management, and really countless technologies that be able to help better make that client experience. So I think that's one way that is definitely evolved over time. But really, we've become so much more technical than when I first started. I mean, just if you just opened up your own insurance policy and it's a lot thicker than it was 25 years ago, right? Even to think of additional exposures, cyber, or what transpired with changes with the Affordable Care Act. And then on the flip side, though, some of our products, though, are being heavily commoditized, which you can tell with the billions of dollars that are spent in advertising alone. But I think the area that really ties to growth that is really challenging for us is the unprecedented amount of consolidation in our industry. And of course, I know there are other industries, our clients that work and deal with this as well, but it's really bringing an immense pressure, if you want to remain independent like we are, to continue to grow. And of course, we've got to grow in those relationships with our insurance companies and add those resources. So, this brings me to something that, I mentioned the other day, is that a number of years ago, when that leadership had transitioned to Kerry and I, we were really at kind of a turning point where I'll never forget, we were sitting in our executive meeting, Kerry and I and Gabe, our CFO, and we had listed out everything that we want to do, where we want to go, and all the things that we wanted to do in terms of initiatives. And it was pretty daunting. That list, if I recall, was over 50 long. And of course, you can't just flip a switch and make that happen. But for me, I knew that we needed help. And that brought us to reaching out to Michael Gunther at Collaboration. And really, if I look back at it now, it was pretty magical. And I know a lot of companies and businesses have gone through this, but for us, it was taking a step back, redefining our core values and our mission, but even more so, having the three of us align with our vision and then sharing that with our employees. And the biggest part about that, when it's specific to growth in terms of our approach there, is that it enabled us not only to share that, make sure we're aligned with the vision for ourselves, but share that with our employees. And so, why do we want to grow and how we're going to do it, and then tie that to how that is impacting our employees, right? And so it's going to be able to share and create new opportunities for them, add more head of household jobs, invest in more technology to make their jobs easier, our client experience better. So I think that was really a big turning point for us. And in terms of the change, I think it'd be great if Kerry could touch on some of the things we're actually doing right now in terms of trying to manage that change that we constantly are growing through.
Sure. So, okay, Brennan mentioned, it's change is necessary in our industry and to best serve our clients. And newsflash, change is really hard. And we realized that we needed to do a better job of supporting our employees through change. So fortuitously, before the pandemic, we had invested in a change management resource. It's called ProSci, and it's been really good for us. Helped us to be even more transparent and understand what we need to do to be more successful in actually changing and supporting our team.
Well, and it's obviously, as you talk about that, as that change has happened, and obviously the Central Coast has grown substantially, and talking about those employees, I guess, is a key piece. And as we've been talking, it's clear that you're strong believers in that, as you're talking about, right? The personal and professional development for yourselves and for your team. Why is that important for you?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so it was that moment when we met with Michael that it became really clear that Brendan and I, we want to leave this company even stronger than it was when we took it over. And to do that, to be successful in that, we've needed to work on skills to be better leaders, frankly. And the same goes for our team. In order for us to have the strongest team, the most engaged team, we need to invest in them. And that investment really pays off for our clients. So it's just been an increasing area of focus for us.
Well, and I'm sure for the different, obviously this, as you were talking about kind of how the world has changed in the time since, maybe your grandfather took over for it, the different businesses and specialties that you need, you got to have great team members to make that work. So investing in there professionally sounds like an incredibly important need to stay in front of the curve. In this past year, I think it's been interesting. How have you kept your values kind of front and center, Kerry, on that team being engaged with remote work, for instance?
Okay, Jim. So it's been really hard, and if I'm honest. But I think that we leaned really heavily on our value of do the right thing. So really trying to support our teams in all their varying situations, some actually really tough situations, trying different things to support our clients who, frankly, are going through so much. And so I guess with engagement, we had to be like, really intentional about connecting a lot more. So more one-on-ones, more team meetings, informal reach outs, a lot of virtual events, like a lot, escape rooms and, cocktail hours, or even like just really simple things like videos honoring employee anniversaries. So we could see each other's faces, virtual workout buddies. Recently we expanded our EAP, which is an employee assistance program to expand mental health support. I guess though, really, I would say this past year, we've spent a lot of time trying to let our employees know that it's okay to not be okay, and to ask for more help. So, we're still trying.
That's incredible, and it's a great acknowledgement, especially during this difficult time. Work's hard in general, but through this past year, obviously been incredibly difficult. And I can say, as a both as a client and as an organization that continues to turn to your team for advice in events and programs, you have an amazing human resource team, both for your customers and in-house with Louise, Athene, and Angela Toomey. How are you approaching the possible return to in-person work, back into the office for everyone?
Oh my gosh, it's ever changing. So we're having lots of conversations about masks and desks and vaccinations and people's comfort, how to handle hybrid meetings. Okay, so I want to say this. We've been really lucky to telework, to actually have that option this past year. And so it's been interesting because our employees went from being uncomfortable at home to comfortable. And so a lot of our employees, they want to continue to work at least part-time from home. And we supported it before the pandemic, but now a lot more people see the benefits of a hybrid situation. So, we're headed in that direction, hybrid. And I would say ultimately we are approaching it with a lot of flexibility, while trying to balance our business and client needs. So we still have a lot of details to work out. There are things that I would say, like some training, mentoring, certainly social, that are better done in person. So we're working on all those details right now. I think, and it's something I keep reminding myself of, and Brendan the same, I think we have to be flexible with ourselves as business owners right now, because these are really uncharted waters. And so we're going to try things, and what works, we're going to keep doing. And what doesn't, we won't. So I would say if anybody has any specific questions on what we're doing or just want to brainstorm, reach out to me, reach out to our company, Louise and Angela. We're happy to help, and talk about some of the things we're trying.
Well, and I can say there, you've been so generous with your team, and your team's been generous with their time. Even next Thursday, Angela Toomey is going to be joining us for a free webinar that we're going to put on for the whole company, or for the whole community. And actually, it's so funny. I had folks from Santa Maria ask if they could come. Again, it's really impressive, the work you're doing. So we'll drop that in our chat over here to let you know where to find that, everybody watching. But it's incredibly important. It's great to hear that. I loved your point about being flexible with it, right? Because who knows what everything's going to look like. And I know there's a lot of mental questions for people about being back with other people, because now we've been in a cave for so long, right?
Right. Yeah. And I also think that one thing that we keep saying is, like, we just want people to be comfortable. And so we're just going to, and I hope next week we have some answers, because things seem to continue to change on a daily basis.
Yeah, I agree with you. People are turning to us going, what's going to happen? I'm like, I'm flipping a coin at the moment. The governor just showed up. No more masks. Okay, maybe that'll be something. So, but we've always appreciated the great work your team does there. Obviously that's you helping out your community, your clients. I want to turn maybe to the perpetually hot topic of changes in insurance. It seems that there's even more flux over the past few years with all the fires, mudslides, and potential changes to health insurance. Brendan, how have you been able to help your clients kind of meet these challenges? And is there any relief on the horizon?
Gosh, well, you said the word hot. That's not a good word in insurance right now, right? So you're right. Without a doubt, there's so many factors that are driving the instability of the insurance market right now when it comes to coverage and pricing. And I think the biggest challenge, in my opinion, that it's not just isolated to one coverage right now. Like if we were to look back 15 years ago, where workers' comp and you kind of had an isolated issue where there might have been some stability in terms of other coverages. It's kind of like the perfect storm, not in a good way, where most coverages are experiencing combined loss ratios of over 100%. So, every dollar the insurance company's taking in, they're paying out more. And so, specifically to home and auto, whether it's commercial or personal and general liability, it's really what we're seeing is the severity that continues to increase over time. And not only that, but the catastrophic events that continue to increase over time every year. In fact, I was on an industry call a few weeks ago, and they were talking about catastrophic events and over the past 10 years. And the thing that really jumped out was 10 years ago, the industry experienced in the United States 30 catastrophic events. And that's a lot, seems like a lot. And of course, we're thinking of things you're talking about: wildfires, floods, hurricanes. And in just this past year in 2020, there were 71. And so that number continues to increase. It's going to continue to have all of us experience it. It'd be challenging. And so, how do we help our clients? Obviously, a lot of what I just described is out of our control. But simply put, it comes down to what we do best, and that is providing education and solutions for our clients. And we've always looked at ourselves as a trusted advisor, and not only that, but we really have strong relationships with our carriers and expansive relationships with them, and so that enables us to just do that. So, answer your question about any relief on the horizon. Being direct, not over the next 12 to 24 months, but I know that our industry, ourselves, we are all working towards that, and working with all the powers that be can try to see how that can evolve.
And knowing, from a personal level, the contact or the context of folks being non-renewed, trying to sell your house and not being able to get the fire insurance that's available. Is this something that's just around our community because California is a hot zone, or is this something kind of you're seeing nationally?
It's a good question. So it depends on what we're talking about. For wildfires, it's definitely more of a Western, there's more than just California. And you're right, more than just our area. It's really a lot of these insurance companies, it's about their saturation and where they are and where the areas they want to be. We can look back to some of the last few fires where some of these insurance companies, it devastated them enough because they were saturated in certain areas that really were devastating to them. And then you get to that point where solvency is really a big concern. And so that's where you're right. We're seeing, it seems like monthly, we get lists of non-renewals from our carriers, regardless of whether or not you've ever had a loss.
It's crazy. And I know you guys are doing the incredible work, and it's not up to you whether that happens or not. But having those relationships, as you talk about, is probably the best option. You're thinking about that is, I'm sure folks aren't as knowing in the weeds of what happens in insurance. Brendan, is there one particular main misconception about your work in the insurance industry you wish people knew?
Gosh, well, I think we all know that most of us don't enjoy paying insurance, right? Especially when it's mandated. I'll say that's definitely one of them. And there's obviously some bad potential thoughts about the industry, but of course, I think a lot of industries can have less desirable experiences. But for me, when I look at that, I see times where we have very difficult or tough medical claims being paid. Receiving calls from clients thanking us for, thank you for recommending us to be put with a certain company when they've had a complete loss for a fire, or even receiving a call from a client on a weekend where What do I do? Our whole entire business has been shut down due to a cyber attack. And what do I do? And being able to tell them, okay, it's going to be okay. You have coverage. This is what we're going to do, connecting them within 30 minutes to their insurance carrier. One thing I always remember is that our dad always said, gosh, when you're going through a claim, it's never fun. But it's really nice when you can look back at it and be thankful, okay, it wasn't great going through that process, but looking back, I'm happy that we have a team such as Morris and Garritano where I have had the right coverage, we have a good relationship with our advisor, and throughout that whole process, we've been an advocate for them, making sure that it goes as smooth as possible.
I appreciate 100% what you're saying because, again, like you said, no one wants to pay insurance, but man, the day you need it, you're certainly glad it's there, and it's fabulous when you have advocates like yourselves ready there. So I can't believe we're already at a half-hour discussion here, but I need to know, after hearing the great work you guys are doing, Kerry, are the next generation of Morrises in training to take over the business, or are they self-excluding off the island already?
Okay, well, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. So I would say the jury is still out. You'll have to ask Brendan.
Brendan, what about you?
Well, yeah, I've got 2 daughters, and they're both in New York, and one we haven't seen in a year and a half. I didn't know, and Kerry didn't know back then. So yeah, the jury's still out, but it might be a while before they come back to California. But really, when we talk about the next generation, we're not descendants of Archibald McAllister. It could be other families and people that we have here already that we're grooming and being able to carry the torch from us.
That's fabulous. Well, if you were recommending to your 2- and 5-year-old, Kerry, would you say this is a great industry to be a part of, or would you recommend them to get into teaching?
Oh man, it is going to sound very cliche, but it is one of the best industries you could ever work in. Our dad never pushed us into the family business. It's probably why 2 of us came and have thrived. But the things I love about this industry is it is always changing. We are helping people, and you learn something new every single day. So I love it. I would hope that my kids do whatever it is that makes them happy.
That's so fabulous. Well, I do want to make sure people can learn more about the great services over at Morris and Garritano. Where would they go to find out more about the company? Brendan?
I think the best thing is our website, and so much, of course, has changed during this pandemic that it really clients, anyone, any individuals can find out a lot from our website.
Fabulous. Well, now to end our program like we do every week, what are you both looking forward to this weekend? Kerry, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, I am running a marathon in a few weeks. So I would say a long run is on the agenda. And let's see here. I'm likely negotiating with a 5-year-old and chasing a 2-year-old. So lots of running in every sense of the word.
I was going to say, I'm not sure which would be more challenging.
Right. The children for sure. So
yeah, makes sense. And Brendan, what are you looking forward to this weekend?
Well, every weekend I barbecue, and speaking of Kerry's 2-year-old, he's grown accustomed to my baby back ribs on an open Santa Armia style barbecue pit. But I'm not doing that this weekend. For the first time in a long time, my wife and I, Vicky, are getting on a plane safely to her father turned 80 a while back. And so we're going to get together now that we're all vaccinated, and we're looking forward to that. It'll be a quick trip, but that'll be nice. So we're looking forward to that.
That sounds awesome. Well, for both of you, thank you so much for being here. It really appreciate you sharing with our community, how you've kind of adapted and dealt with some of these challenges. And again, the support you give our entire community through, again, your team and all the work you do. So Kerry, Brendan, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been nice.
It is a blast. And for all of you out there, thank you so much for eating lunch with us. Join us next week, same time, same place. If you have a question for the brother-sister team here, for our guests, feel free to add them in the Facebook comments below, and our guests will try to answer them when they get a moment. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Stay healthy and safe out there, everyone.